We are live, but right now we're talking touchdowns. NBA rundowns in an hour, but the NFL draft is on Thursday. So I've got Tyler with me as well, and we brought in our draft expert here at Run Pier, Meg. Before you started, Meg, you were telling us everything, all the work you've done for the NFL draft. I said, boy, we should just have this on the air. So I know you're repeating yourselves, but go ahead and tell everyone again how much work you've been doing on the NFL draft over the years and how you got into this.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you, Spread. First of all, love the background. And no, thank you for having me on today. It's fun joining you, talking with you guys about the NFL draft. Yeah. Outside of working for Run Pure and sports betting and daily fantasy, my day job is I run fanspeak.com. It's a family business. And what fanspeak.com has become really is kind of the home for the armchair GM. So we were we were the first true NFL mock draft simulator in 2013 for the 2014 NFL draft. So this is our 10th NFL draft that we have a mock draft simulator for. In the last 3 years, there's a lot of other options. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but we have been around for 10 years. So I don't want to mislead you. I am not, watching film or anything. My brother is kind of the analyst, the draft analyst, the data, the brains behind that. I run the business. I help get all these big boards. But what I do is I see a ton of the NFL draft nuances and how the NFL draft rumors and, rankings and things evolve through especially January through April, and especially in April. So I see a lot of that these 4 months, and I have 10 years of experience of just seeing how just the draft season evolves. And I think a lot of that can be applied to then sports betting, right? Or draft betting.
Right. And the draft season has evolved a lot over the last 10
Yes.
years, right? As the NFL draft has become, it's almost a bigger event than the NBA finals now. As far, and it really is when you look at the ratings. Yeah. I have lots of friends, I'm wearing my Raiders stuff today, even though we have no hope to ever be a good franchise. Tyler, how you feeling about doing some draft stuff? You in here? You ready to play some bets? I got Bookmaker pulled up.
Yeah, definitely ready to play some bets on the draft. I think there's a couple angles we could find where we can get some nice plus prices on these guys too. Because, for instance, you've seen Will Levis go out there this morning and tell all his friends and family he's going first overall. Carolina already called him. Dude was like 40-1 last night to go first overall. Now he's down to about 4-1. So we see how these odds shift. And I wish he can keep pushing that narrative and we can get Bryce Young close down to like minus 200 because I jump right back in on him. The dude's going first overall.
Right.
There's no way Will Levis jumps him.
Right.
All right. Meg, so you guys do the mock draft simulator, and you were trying to explain this to me before we went on. And to be fair, right, it might be a little clunky here as we do this because I didn't figure it out. How come I can't just run the mock draft simulator once and then just bet everything that it gives me?
Well, because we are not trying to be predictive, or if we were trying to be predictive, it would just spit out like the same 10 different things that may like that people think are going to happen. That's the whole thing. Like, if you look at consensus rankings, if you look at mock drafts, the best ones in the world are wrong a lot, okay. And we think we know. And that's what's interesting about, you have it above you. Our simulator is called On the Clock. The On the Clock mock draft simulator, it's showing plausible scenarios. It's not going to say this is exactly what's going to happen. It is, if you ran 100 times, you're going to get 100 different things of what could potentially happen on draft night. And the reason that people think they know, but they don't know, and this is what I think is funny after doing customer service in this for 10 years, is there are 32 draft boards on draft weekend, or 32 big boards draft weekend, right?
Right.
And we just go off either our own in our head or our favorite expert. There are 32 different draft boards. So one guy may have Jamar Gibbs ranked above Bijan Robinson. That doesn't make sense to maybe me or you guys, but like there could be a team that says, I like Gibbs better and I'm going to take Gibbs above Robinson. These are the crazy things that happen. Look at last year. Everybody, I think there was pretty consensus that Garrett Wilson was the number one receiver. Drake London goes first. Atlanta liked Drake London the best. He was the first receiver on their board. So that's the kind of stuff that On the Clock plays out all the different scenarios if you ran it over and over and over and over again. And so that's what's interesting about it. So it's not meant to be predictive, but it just shows all the different scenarios that can play out. So that is just very obviously interesting and just helps to see, kind of just put perspective and kind of some realism to it.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I think is funny on the NFL draft coverage, right, is, and I don't know if they'll still do it this year, but it seems to me in the past, Mel Kiper makes his big board, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
they make a pick, and then they grade the pick. And the grade is essentially how close are you to my big board?
Right.
So
Well, that's what drives me crazy. Some of these other mock draft simulators that have come out and have grades, and I think grades are bullshit because you're not going to know if the pick is right or wrong until 5 years later, basically. So to me, grading a draft is ridiculous until really there's a lot of hindsight and data to support, if it was right or wrong. I have a couple quick, because again, I do customer service for this in 10 years of running a mock draft simulator. And so we get I call them the no way in hell guy. And so every single year, no way in hell this guy's going to follow the top 10. No way in hell this guy's going to follow the first round. Can I give you a couple examples of no way in hell just to show how crazy that people think they know, but we have no idea? And sometimes they're, the NFL teams are correct. And sometimes the NFL teams are incorrect. And I'll give you a couple quick examples of both. 2014 draft, the first one we covered, no way in hell Johnny Manziel is falling out of the top 5, top 10. He went 22 to the Cleveland Browns, and he should have been undrafted, clearly. 2017, my favorite, Jonathan Allen, he was one of the top, no way in hell he falls out of the top 5, top 10. He was one of the best defensive linemen. Washington got him at pick 17. That one was incorrect. The teams that let him fall, that was a mistake. 2019, no way in hell DK Metcalf and AJ Brown follow the first round. They both did. They both went in the second round. Obviously, that was a mistake. They probably should have been first rounders. Look at them now, And then, the biggest one I think recently is, of course, we'll talk quarterbacks here in a minute. Last year, no way in hell that Malik Willis is falling out of the first round. Well, he fell to the end of the third round because NFL teams, and listen, I'm not saying give it 4 more years before we make a judgment on Malik Willis. But the game we watched of him, there was a reason. He's going to take some time to be a true NFL quarterback, and a team would need to be really patient with him. That's why he fell to the third round. So sometimes teams are right, sometimes teams are wrong. The point is, as fans don't always know, and that's what's really interesting. The no way in hell guy.
He can make me eat my words. Malik Willis sucks at football.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's give it a few more years. But so far, I think the NFL was right.
When your own team turns on you after 1 year, they realize they messed up.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They said they're already trying to draft another quarterback.
Oh, okay.
They're all over Levis. They already said they lost faith in Willis. Like, if they lost faith in you that fast, then I don't think you were all that good.
And who knows? Sometimes there's these guys that kick around and stink for a while, and then maybe in 5 or 6 years he'll
show up out of nowhere.
I feel like that happens in the NBA so much more than the NFL.
Yeah.
I feel like in the NFL, the college is a lot closer to the product, right? If you play in the SEC, you can play in the NFL, right?
Right.
There's no NCAA division.
Ryan Tannehill
has a point too. It's like they started Josh Dobbs over Malik Willis. That should tell us enough of what they think about him.
Exactly. But I got the all last year. Point, no way in hell he falls out of the first round. You were right.
Yeah. All right. How about this? So just so we have just an idea of where to go from, let's pull up the simulator right now. And then, Meg, why don't you run a mock draft, and we'll go ahead and talk about the top 10 picks, what we think about them, and then maybe view where some of their over-unders are here on the board. I'm going to go offshore.
Sure.
Tyler's
which team would you like me to run for? I have to pick one. You want to be the Raiders? I'll be the Raiders.
Let's do it. Let's do some Raiders.
You could be the GM.
Because of the Raiders. as Bart says, you won't know for 5 years how to grade the pick unless it's the Raiders pick in round 1.
I was going to say there's also reaches of no way in hell a guy goes this early and then a guy goes early. And
and we've been doing that, right?
Klein Farrell, number 4 to the Raiders in 202019. I literally
almost every single one of Mayock's was a reach. Leatherwood was a reach too, right? Didn't he have a second round grade?
That was a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
Farrell?
to say real
Yeah.
quick, on the you're seeing the ads free version on the clock. Obviously, if you go to fanspeak.com, use on the clock, there are ads. I get some complaints about that. We are a business, but Ultimate GM lets you do a lot more settings, simulations, trades, player trades in full off-season simulations, and does everything no ads on our site, including our articles and everything. So this is the no ads version. If you want Ultimate GM, I did put in a code for Run Pure. It's RPS. It's usually $19.95 just for a whole entire year. You'll get it through next draft season, basically, and it would just be $16.95. Just because I love my Run Pure crew. So RPS is if you want ads free on Fanspeak. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Excellent. All right, RPS is the promo code. Let's run the mock draft. Let's see who comes out number one. Who are they going to give us? Are they going to read the?
I'm going to go ahead and use my brother's big board. But as you can see really quick, we do have 17 different big boards. Some big ones from CBS, some smaller ones from draft sites, some team ones. But you can choose different settings here. I'm going to do a classic speed so we can kind of see it play out. And then I'm going to use the computers using a random big board, meaning it's not following my big board. The big board it shows it's going to use one of the other 16 big boards. So we are going to start the round. And as you can see it play out down here, it did go Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson. Oh, I'm on the clock. Sorry.
Tyler, you're going to have to make the pick for my team.
Who do you want to be the pick for?
Who were those first couple picks off the board? Let me see those again.
Yeah, the picks are Young, Stroud, Will Anderson, Anthony Richardson, Luke.
Anthony Richardson at 4 to who? Indy?
Yeah, 4? Indy.
Yeah.
I mean, this personally lines up with them trading back and letting somebody take Levis, but in this instance,
you could. In this situation, you would trade. You would do a trade. You can if you want to do that, but
if not, we'll take the Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback out of Oregon. They need a corner in Vegas. That's probably the best corner on the board in my eyes.
Okay, so we just drafted you Christian Gonzalez for the Raiders. So as you see, I'm scrolling down so we can see the rest of the draft play out. And then at the end, we'll be able to just look at it full picture and see the results.
Who do we need, Tyler?
You guys need a corner bad. You guys couldn't stop passing whatsoever.
Do we want a first-round corner? Don't they always bust, though?
No, but these couple corners at the top
are good, yeah.
Yeah, Witherspoon.
Like, how good? Are they going to be like...
Witherspoon and Gonzalez are 6-foot corners. Like, they're not short guys.
Are they going to be like the Jets corner?
I mean, nobody's going to be sauce. Let's be real here.
Okay. What about like Stingley out in Houston? Will they be that good?
They have potential to be that. Yes.
I don't really think that changes your team at all.
As you saw right there, he made a great point about Will Levis still being there. If that scenario played out, you as a Raiders GM would probably trade out of the pick, and you could have, and then traded back, got some more picks, and taken somebody else a little bit later. But if you can see the screen. Do you want me to just read it?
Yeah, just go ahead and draft someone, because then what we're going to use is we're going to go over these top 10. We're going to talk about the players, and then we're going to look up where their over and under is placed here on the offshore books and whether or not we should be betting those. So.
Okay, so do you want me to read the top 10?
Yeah, let's read the top 10. Well, we'll go over them one at a time. So It's number 1. Tyler, I don't have a Bryce Young right now on the board here at Bookmaker. They took it down with all that Reddit news today. What number do you have for Bryce Young, and what do you think about that selection?
He's minus 1,400 to go first spread. He's the best quarterback on the board. Unless they're scared of him being a little short, he's the best quarterback. Like, you take him first overall.
Yeah, now he was plus 275 about 3 weeks ago.
Until they took that test, that S2 test, and then Stroud couldn't spell his name. Bryce Young damn near tested perfect. He took his spot.
Meg, in your experience, what do you think of all these pre-draft rumors? And did you have like a lean of just stuff you're hearing on who you think the Panthers will pick?
Yeah, I mean, before a couple weeks ago, I thought it was going to be Stroud. Right. But things move fast in April. when it comes to draft, rumors and just guys getting steamed up and dropping and all this stuff. And again, as far as these rumors go, some of them turn out right. Like last year, we all thought it was going to be, Aiden Hutchinson or Thibodeau that was going to go number one. And then the rumor was no, Jacksonville's going to select Trevon Walker. Is that how you say it? And that was correct. But then you look, what was it, a couple years ago with the Trey Lance trade, San Francisco, is like, oh, the 49ers traded up and they're coming up to get Mac Jones. And that was like the rumor that they were coming up to 3 to get Mac Jones. Well, no, they came up and got
and in fact, on that rumor, Mike Lombardi still stands by his information and claims that his information was from Shanahan and that John Lynch overruled him. Yeah.
Really?
And that there was actually a power struggle.
I still stand on my take that they would never went up to get Mac Jones. They went into a press conference and said, we traded up for a quarterback with a big arm and legs. Neither of those things describe Mac Jones.
Yeah, I know. I'm just telling you because Lombardi's the guy that moved a lot of that steam. Right. With him going on the air, and he actually does have, say what you want about him, but the guy's got connections in the league, right? He worked for Belichick, Bill Walsh. Yeah. He's got connections in the league.
And I just to use that comparison here, taking Trey Lance over Mac Jones, Trey Lance broke his leg. He hasn't looked all that good, but Mac Jones hasn't put together a superstar career either. So it's we might have missed that pick, but we didn't miss it like crazy. Now,
I've been anti Trey Lance, but I still think I'd rather have him than Mac Jones.
I agree, but if you look at this year, CJ Stroud has this bad test grade where all these prospects that ever tested bad have been busts. Yeah. Do you want to try and buck that trend and take the guy at first? And if he sucks, you look like you just walked yourself into death right there, and let Bryce Young fall, and he turns out to be the stud. I think you would much rather take Bryce Young, get a mid to average quarterback, and if CJ Stroud bucks the trend that's never been bucked and becomes a good football player, you just kind of throw your arms up we missed that one.
I also think a lot of the arguments for CJ Stroud are combine arguments, better measurables, bigger arm, this and that. But go back to the tape, just watch the games. Take out the one game. What was the big game he had? Was the TCU game?
No, it was the Georgia game. You could leave that game there, spread. Just go back the year before and watch what Bryce Young did to Georgia, who had a better defense that year.
Right. But my point is, you take out that Georgia game, and Stroud is nowhere near close. Now, that Georgia tape is so good, you can make an argument, hey, going against the best defense, you look this good, you guys NFL ready. I still think Young has the better tape. Meg, what do you think when it comes down to tape versus measurables? And do you find that certain teams, you can say, oh, this team likes tape, this team likes measurables? Is there how do you think that plays out?
Yeah, I think there are, for the quarterback position, some teams weight, like you said, the tape, the measurables, the testing scores, interviews, more than others. And I don't know the date on which teams weight more than others, off the top of my head. Tyler and I were talking on playback last night. I really think it's interesting. I tend to think that a safer pick is a guy who's had at least 3 years as a starter. Now, obviously, Mahomes and Burrow are great example of 2-year starters that just are, the best quarterbacks out there in the league right now. But,
and to be fair, if in one of your 2 years you have one of the greatest seasons of all time.
Yeah.
Right, that gives you a little extra credit, right?
Right. But if honestly, I guess because the Redskins have gotten burned by guys that were just, a couple years starters or in the past, that I would much rather.
So who are you talking about there when you say the 1 year starters?
Dwayne Haskins. Okay. May rest in peace. I'm not trying to be offensive, but Dwayne Haskins, and then obviously RG3. I think he had 2.5 years, but I think he was injured. We looked that up last night.
Another good example is Mitch Trubisky. He played 1 year. Teams traded up for him, and he was terrible.
Right. And then again, and Tyler and I talked about this last night. In this kind of COVID era where players are getting extra years. I think it behooves teams to take advantage of the guys that stayed longer, like Jalen Hurts, like Kenny Pickett. Those guys that stayed longer, got more just years to mature, and maybe got that third or even sometimes for some players fourth year to play. I would lean into that. I would want my team to lean into that. But I don't know. Certainly all teams don't lean into that. I mean, I think a lot is the measurables versus the tape. And I think some teams weight some more than others. And, that's what's hard to know. And that's what's hard to know is we don't know what's going on, obviously, behind these closed doors. And that's what's funny about the rumors season, which is now and all of April, basically, is some of these rumors are going to come to be true and some are just going to be way off, and we won't know. We will not know until Thursday night.
All right. So Tyler, the final verdict though is for that number one pick overall, that really, unless this Levis rumor continues to pick up steam, there's no value on Bryce Young, and we just
you just kind of leave it alone, keep it moving, unless you want to be that guy that tries to think you're going to catch something where they don't take him first overall. But I don't think it's worth it.
Right, I agree.
All right. Wait, why is Gavin here throwing slander at you, Tyler?
It's our guy Gavin.
Good morning to you too, Gav. All right, number 2 on the mock draft simulator. They gave us C.J. Stroud to the Houston Texans. What do you think of that one, Tyler?
I don't think they take a quarterback. The more I look at this pick, if they keep it, I think they go defense. But
you have to take Will Anderson, right? You were the guy you told me at the beginning of the year he's going to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I think he's the best football player in this entire draft. He's the best edge rusher. My problem here is they're sitting at 2. Mm-hmm. Arizona is the elephant in the room that's going to trade out at 3 for a team that wants a quarterback. And the Colts are hanging at 4, and they want a quarterback. Doesn't this line up as the spot where the Colts jump both teams up to 2? Get their guy at 2, and Houston waits at 4 for their guy. Because I think they're looking at it as, like, if I'm Houston, it's like, all right.
The thing is, if you want Will Anderson, he's not getting past Arizona, is he? Unless they trade.
Arizona's the
But who's team trading up to make Anthony Richardson 3?
Anybody?
I guess it would be.
Well, here's the kicker here now, because Seattle said that they are interested in Anthony Richardson. If he's there at 5, they're not moving up. So if you're a team behind 5 and somebody trades up for Levis, and now it's like, all right, Anthony Richardson's last guy on the board, and Seattle's taking him at 5. We have no choice but to trade up to 4 to get our guy. And that's where I think you see, just like Richie Small said in the chat, you either see the Titans come up, somebody random comes up. Right. I'm not rolling out Atlanta coming up and getting one of these guys hanging out at 8. I know they've said that they've stuck with Ritter. I'm not buying a cent of that. That guy stinks. They got to know he stinks. They can come up and get one of these quarterbacks too. So I'm not deadlocked on him being the 2nd pick as much as I am him being Houston's 1st pick.
Excellent. What do you think, Meg, of the simulator putting C.J. Stroud there at number 2?
I mean, I could see, honestly, it going either way. I could see them doing either Stroud or Anderson. Again, they have a pick later that they could come back up for a quarterback. If they wanted to go Anderson, they could take Anderson and then come back up. I think the simulator actually traded them back in this scenario, I believe, but I'd have to look closer. But anyways, I think they could go and get their quarterback if they're set on Stroud. But if they, are willing to, if they want to get Anderson and get the best defensive player, then they get him, and then they use their 2nd pick to then get back up, because there's, they can easily move back into the top, 5, so, within the top. I guess they're not going to trade the Colts, but they could trade, potentially at 3 or I guess 5 or 6 if Seattle was willing to move.
Tyler, what does FanDuel have for both Stroud and Anderson? Because it seems to me those are the 2 most likely picks there at number 2. I mean, I know, Meg, you said there's 1,000 simulations, but probably not a lot of them are going to have any other player going at number 2. Would you agree there?
Not so fast, spread. Will Anderson's 3-1. CJ Stroud's 3.5-1. They're not even the favorites. The favorites Will Levis because
of a trade up.
Yeah, the trade up is so much of an impact here. They're not.
You would trade up for Will Levis and not CJ Stroud.
I wouldn't, but a lot of these teams factor in that test a lot. he tested better than them. Like the Colts, for instance, they could be the team that just trades up 2 spots and snags them. I could definitely see that happening.
Okay, so from a betting perspective, is there any value here, or are we just kind of moving along and looking at some of these other bets?
I mean, you liked Will Anderson at plus 300,
I like
right?
Will Anderson. I had him plus 380 last night.
Okay.
It's just the more I look at the outcomes, if it was like, all right, they're locked in right here, I'd be so much more confident that they're going to take him in that spot. It's just the way the board looks, and the more you look at it, it's like this is the perfect spot for them to back up 2 slots, accumulate a few more picks, still get their guy while the Colts go up and get the quarterback, because they don't have the other issue of whoever jumps them to get the 2, Tennessee's probably waiting in the wings to get the 3 to get the other quarterback. So
why is everyone trading up for these guys?
I know.
It's just how it happens, right?
It gets
Quarterbacks
steamed
are the most valued position. All it takes is one domino to fall, and then you watch them all just start to fly off the board because everybody gets worried that the next pick's going to be their guy, and now they're screwed.
I mean, to your point, Spread, I don't think it's worth it. Like, honestly, if I was the Colts, or well, especially the Colts, who don't have, they have Gardner Minshew as their quarterback right now. Like, I would be trying to make calls for Lamar or Trey Lance, like, as opposed to taking one of these absolute flyers. If I'm going to use draft capital, I'm going to trade for, but again, then it's the rookie contract versus, the big paycheck and the guarantee, all the guaranteed money. So, again, it's, there's a price to pay to get your quarterback.
I also think the Colts are a different situation, and that they're the only ones of these teams that we're talking about that can say we're a quarterback away, right?
Yeah.
Texas need like upgrades at 10 positions, right? The Panthers, they need a lot more too. I mean, that line wasn't very good this year. Not fun to they need some upgrades as well, not to mention to acquire that pick, they gave up one of their best wide receivers. But the Colts, you look at them and you say, this is a pretty good roster, right?
Right.
I mean, obviously they could use some wide receiver weapons, but those are available there.
Well, let me ask you this, both of you. I know you think that it'll either be a trade or Will Anderson, but is the value just too good on Bryce Young at plus 900?
I can't pull the trigger there.
You can't pull the trigger? Okay.
No,
I just see plus 900 for the guy that
a week ago, Meg.
Or no, I'm sorry, I was looking at Bryce Young. I was thinking, CJ Stroud at 350.
Oh,
sorry, Bryce Young. Yes, he's going number 1. I totally confused that. Is the value still too good? Do you think it's worth?
If I bet, I would bet Stroud, but it sounds like you think
Anderson.
Let's say the proverbial $100 you get me, and I got to bet second pick. I would bet Stroud personally, but Tyler, it sounds like you would bet Anderson in this case.
Yeah, I got them mixed up. I apologize. Yeah, so it's either Anderson at 300 or Stroud at 350. You're right.
Which one do you like better of those two, Tyler?
Of those two, I'm probably just sticking Anderson and crossing my fingers that Houston keeps that pick.
Yeah. Okay. Now that I see the price,
and there is arguments, right? I mean, you're getting an elite defender.
You're getting the best defender in the entire draft.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit later there with a big nose tackle out of Georgia who also fell on draft boards. Okay, so we haven't really found bets that we've liked yet. Let's keep it moving. At 3, who did we have for Arizona picking on the draft board, Meg?
On the draft board, Will Anderson fell, so they took the best defensive player.
Okay, so we've already talked about him. And then at 4, it put Anthony Richardson.
To the Colts, yes.
Tyler, so I have him up there on offshore. So under 4.5 for me at Bookmaker is plus 279. Over 4.5 is minus 347. Obviously, this is just a simulation, and Meg talked about you can run 100 times and you'll get 100 different boards, right? So we're not using this as gospel. We're using it as a way to structure our conversation.
Right.
Tyler, over under 4.5 on Richardson. Do you think, under 4.5 plus 279, what number do you got, and are you considering that? I
go over. I get it.
What are your numbers on FanDuel?
My numbers on FanDuel, let me find those real quick. Draft position. Anthony Richardson, he is not listed on FanDuel. I have Bijan, Broderick Jones, Dontel Kincaid, JSN, Joey Porter, Michael Mayer, Nolan Smith, Peter Skoronsky, Quentin Johnston, and Zay Flowers.
Okay.
But I have a
but
take.
Really, at plus 279, no interest there?
I want the over. I think this kid sucks. I don't think he's a good.
It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what an NFL GM
I agree, but I don't think this guy is worth a draft pick within the first top 5 picks. I mean, everyone wanted to make a big deal about this kid hitting the ceiling in his pro day. How many wide receivers are like 90-foot tall spread and you're going to throw it that high? Like, who are we throwing the ball to up there? Like, oh, cool, he hit the ceiling, but like,
is this giving me Jamarcus Russell shades of back when I wanted him? Yeah. I wanted him so bad because there wasn't as much video then, right? But a video came out, Tyler, of him throwing the ball
off his knee
through the field goal off his knee from the 50-yard line. And I said, I want this guy. He's going to be the best. Little did I know he's sipping more lean than Scarface. I mean, unbelievable here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Tyler. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I don't think we're going to have the whole lean problem here with Anthony Richardson. But I just think the kid can't throw a football straight. Like, he had the 1 year of seeing him play, and he didn't even look all that good last year.
I was going to say, my point is 1 year, right? I mean,
yeah, it's 1 year, like Meg said. He didn't look good in it. His accuracy,
the tape is terrible on him, right?
Yeah, so it's like, if you're going to tell me you're going to drag this kid in and you're going to fix him, like, kudos to you if you're going to waste a top 5 pick on him, because I don't think it's worth it unless you have an established quarterback that you're going to sit in behind for multiple years.
Exactly. That's where he works. Yeah.
Yeah. You do not use a top 5 pick on a guy like that. So I go over. I think Levis goes before him, and I don't even think Levis is going to be all that good, but I just think Richardson's the biggest work in progress.
Meg, I was, they tempted me there with that. Your simulation liked it. I'm getting plus 279. What do you think about Richardson and this type of stylist?
Yeah, again, this is just one plausible scenario, so definitely don't make a bet based on this. But yeah, again, it's a good talking point, and I agree with Tyler. I talked it through with, my brother and I were going over some of this stuff before I jumped on the show, because again, he's the one doing the analysis and rankings and such. And, he said, yeah, he's got like, he could be this immense upside, like a Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson on speed, but he could obviously be Jamarcus Russell too. If you're going to draft him, you probably should do exactly what Tyler said. And he needs to go to a team where he can sit and learn and develop. And then maybe he will be an absolute stud in 2 or 3 years. But if you want to throw him out week 1, that's a risky proposition. And so I definitely think it should be over. And I think Levis will go ahead of him. And again, I feel the same thing.
You think Levis goes ahead of Richardson?
I think Levis goes ahead of Richardson, but I think whoever drafts both of them need to be patient.
All right. Who do you have on and my guys, remember, this is just one simulation. Who do we have going 5?
Before we go to 5, sorry, Meg.
Yeah.
Looking at this, I have the mock draft portal on my screen, and it has stats next to it. Bryce Young had 3,300 yards, 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 65% completion percentage. Stroud had 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 66% completion percentage. Will Levis, 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, 65% completion percentage. Then you get to Anthony Richardson, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 53% completion percentage. That 53 ain't going to cut it at the next level.
That's scary.
And you know what happened is before they talked about how completion percentage was such a big indicator, right? Mm-hmm. It's like in the NBA, Tyler, it's like free throw shooting for overall shooting. Mm-hmm. Free throw shooting is a better predictor of NBA success than 3-point shooting. Josh Allen bucked that trend, right? Because I remember that was one of the reasons I was down on him. And do you remember our guy Cheese, right?
But look at the coaches that surrounded that man for the first couple of years. Like, you got to drop him into
it doesn't matter.
Situation.
My point is, I think a lot more teams are going to think that they can fix accuracy,
right?
When it had kind of been an accepted norm that's one of the things that you can't teach. So,
and Josh Allen wasn't very accurate his first year.
At
all.
You still see those flaws show themselves.
Yeah.
You'll watch him throw the ball, and it's like, where the hell was that going?
Yeah, my brother was and my dad brother at the Senior Bowl he was at, and it was like he would make throws that were just like, oh my God, like mind blowing, and then he'd make throws where you're like, what the hell was that? Like it's just that's what he was when he was a prospect. And so again, risky proposition. It totally worked out for the Bills. But to speak to the accuracy, the first year he was not very accurate. Same with Jalen Hurts. I mean, my God, the first year, terrible accuracy. Second year got better. I was down on him for the third year because I didn't think it would keep improving, and it did improve. So some guys do, if you're patient with them, that does get more accurate each year, and then some guys, no, they're just never going to be that accurate passer. And like Tyler said, even though Allen's accuracy has certainly improved each year, you'll still see it for sure.
All right, let's move on. So who does it have going number 5 for us, Meg?
This one, it's another edge. It's got a ton of edge in the top 10, which, I mean, okay. This is a strong edge class. So, but it's got Lucas Van Ness to the Seahawks.
Okay, I know nothing about him. Tyler, do you know him, and what do you think of this, having him here in the simulation? I don't even see him on here for a betting.
Me and all my buddies, we categorize these kind of players as corns because he played for Iowa. Just straight out of the cornfields, so he's the 4th best pass rusher on the board behind Anderson, Tyree Wilson, and Nolan Smith. The kid's a stud. He's really good. I could see a team reaching for him and going up and getting him ahead of the Tyree Wilsons who didn't get to work out for the combine, but has the traits similar to a Trayvon Walker. So I could see Seattle, because Seattle's a team too where every mock draft I've seen them, they've been taking an edge rusher. Or they come in and they snag Anthony Richardson if he's there. But I don't see them taking a guy that's just, we can mold this guy into our guy. I don't think that's Seattle's rap. They want a guy that they know is going to roll in. He has his role already built. I think that's Lucas Van Ness. I could definitely see them reaching out, getting their guy. His job is just to get after the quarterback, and that's what he's coming in to do. So I like that pick for Seattle.
Okay. Do you have an opportunity to make a bet there? What do you have him at? Because he's not on my board right now. Maybe I should just bet online. Maybe those would be more. I'll pull up bet online real quick.
That's what, 5th overall pick?
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
So if he were to go 5th, they have him listed at, let's see, where's Luke?
I mean, he's plus 9,500 to be a top 5 pick.
He ain't even listed as a 5th overall selection.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the
I could see it though, because Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson are 2 favorite on the board. Yet you're not going to give me the other 2 edge rushers as odds for this pick. I mean, he could clearly be this pick.
And this is the kind of stuff that happens, that people read mocks, people see rankings, and they think, okay, it's going to go in this order. And it's but what if Seattle thinks that he's after Will Anderson is the top edge? Then if Seattle thinks that and nobody's trading with him, then there he goes, and that's the kind of stuff that, again, we think we know, but we have no idea. And why maybe you can take some long shots. Again, we're not saying he's getting taken in the top 5. We're just saying it's plausible.
Wow, Bet Online has some silly ones. We might have to do a couple.
I was gonna say there's some fun stuff. Yeah, when you really after you get
All right, who do we have at 6 here?
Sure.
I do see before you go make just one bet I found on Lucas Van Ness. For him to go top 10, he's plus 200. So we get an extra 5 selections for him to get picked instead of just locking in on that 5. Mind you, I really want to lock in on that 5 if we're going to get 100 to 1 though.
That might be worth the drive to West Virginia, right?
Oh yeah, if we find 100 to 1, I'm driving to West Virginia.
West Virginia is my closest state to drive to too, so I love it.
What do you got for us at 6?
Yeah, 6. We've got Jalen Carter, best defensive lineman to the Detroit Lions.
That would be
Tyler. He was the one I wanted to bring up earlier. You're just clear. You have no doubt that Will Anderson is the best defensive player in the draft, but a lot of reports I've read, just from a football tape perspective, people like Jalen Carter a lot more. Of course, Jalen Carter had some off-field issues that have lowered his draft stock a bit, but all it takes is one team to think, hey, in our organization, we'll get him on the right path. On Bookmaker, for me, I have him over 7 minus 140, under 7 plus 112. It's another one where the under at plus money would hit. What do you think, Tyler?
I think you're basically playing with fire on that under, because he's not going first, he's not going second, he's not going third, he's not going fourth. You're basically banking on Seattle taking him at 5 or Detroit taking him at 6.
So it's a tight window. Yeah,
it's a tight window. I don't think it's worth the plus 112. And I get where people make the argument. I think Jalen Carter's another stud, but I think him and Will Anderson, it's just pulling hairs at that point.
I know. But
they're both the best.
For Detroit, though, wouldn't he look pretty good on that line?
Now, that would be the nut spot for him to land. him in the middle, Aiden Hutchinson on the outside, like that team's rebuilding its defense in the snap of a finger if you're taking him here. I think that's the pick they make. But again, they traded away their star corner spread. If
Wait, are you talking about Darius Slay 2 years ago?
No, they traded away Jeff Okudah. He's a Falcon now.
He's not. He wasn't a star. He's a bust.
He was their number one corner. So
he sucked.
They might go the route of Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go corner instead.
Okay, interesting. What do you think, Meg? Do you think?
I think Tyler broke it down perfectly. I mean, I think they could go either way there. And then you hear all these rumors again, rumor season, right? Oh, well, maybe Detroit will take a quarterback. Then you get that thrown into the mix too. I don't think so. I think they'll go defense and continue to shore things up there. Yeah,
we didn't lose any defenders in the gambling suspensions, did we? For the Lions, just a couple wide receivers, and I think
just Jameson Williams, I think, which is such a that was such a bummer.
All right, shout out to Jameson Williams, big fan of the show. Who do we have going at number 7, Meg?
Number 7, we have Christian Gonzalez. We picked him. We were the GM there, and we picked. And
this is one of the closest ones on my offshore board, Tyler. 8.5 is even money both ways.
That's because we're such good GMs here. Yeah,
we picked him 7, so that would be the under. What do you think where Christian Gonzalez goes?
He's definitely a top 10 pick. I think it's either you guys take him, Detroit takes him, or Chicago swoops in. Don't even roll out Philly here. I mean, Philly lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They need a third corner. Mm-hmm. They could take a third corner right there at pick 10. But I have a weird feeling if the Tennessee Titans don't get up into that top 5, you're going to see some weird trade come across where Tennessee moves up one slot. They gain a couple extra picks, and Derrick Henry becomes an Eagle.
Oof.
Interesting. I'd love to see Bijan Robinson in that offense. Meg, who do we have going at number 8 in this simulation?
We have a major run on edge in this simulation. Nolan Smith to the Atlanta Falcons.
Keep the kid at home. Georgia kid, grew up in Georgia.
I got under 11 on mine. What do you think, Tyler?
I like that because I think there's the pathway he gets up into the. It's just one of those ones. He's either going to go right in that 7, 8, 9, 10 range, or you're going to watch him fall down into the teens, the 14, 15, 16. Right. Like, he's not going to hit that in between spot right in there. So
do we have our first official bet? I've been waiting to cue this thing up, Tyler. Right after the Bucks let me down last night, we're trying to get back.
The only thing about this spread is like
I got under 11.
My worry is if Anderson and Wilson are your only 2 edge rushers off the board in the first 8 picks, you're in trouble because it could go any route from there. Like if they like Lucas Van Ness more, they take him. Like it's just,
my number on Lucas Van Ness is 15. Where is it?
Just like Meg said, though, it's like
on the other board.
One big board could have this guy at 1, and the next big board could have this guy at 7.
Yeah. And somebody could have him in the second round. I mean, that's how the big boards are.
Tyler, you're not getting out of here without giving us the best bet. Just so you know.
I know, but you just look at Lucas Van Ness's.
I'm speaking for the people here.
Some of these other edge rushers, he had way better stats than Nolan Smith. His stats are up there with the likes of Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson, so he could definitely jump up draft boards.
I want to take that under there. This is my favorite one that we've talked about so far. Meg, who do we have at 8?
That was 8. 9,
I'm sorry. Who have
9 is another edge, again, major edge, rush on edge. Good pun there. Edge Tyree Wilson to the Chicago Bears.
And just in support of this, I think a run on edge is completely plausible.
This is an elite edge class. Yeah.
So these quarterback prospects that we're talking about right now, right? None of them would have been number 1 10 years ago, right? But because of the rule changes, it's just simply now that if you don't have a quarterback, you really can't compete. I mean, you're at best a wild card team if you don't have a quarterback, right? Like that's your ceiling is losing in the wild card. So teams are willing to make the risk. On the other side, because of these very same rule changes, the edge has become the game-changing player. We've seen it with a guy like Micah Parsons, right? How much one guy can really just upgrade a defense, right? A Dallas defense that we thought was looking average. They nailed that draft the 1 year, adding Micah Parsons and a ball hawk corner, because now, because of the new rules, simply playing good coverage isn't good. It's better to be a gambling corner, a la Marcus Peters. So I think a run on edge is completely plausible. So I like betting under on these guys the way that this simulation has turned out. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree there. It's my thing is like I like to read through some of these beat writers stuff. Sure. They can give you good information on some of these guys. Like we found a couple years ago, spread it was like Detroit was locked into an offensive lineman. It was like as long as Cincinnati doesn't take Sewell and right there, he was going to fall into their lap at 6-1. They took Jamar Chase, and it was like, we're golden here. Like there's no chance they're taking anybody else. They ran that card up there.
Ran the card up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's just finding all the information on some of these beat writers. That's what I like to look for.
No, I think that's a good tool to use too, because again, they might have a little bit more to offer you too. And again, I think it's a sum of the parts. You can use the rumors, you can use the beat writers, use the mock drafts, use simulators, use it all. Use your gut, what you're seeing with your eyes. No, at the end of the day, it all comes down to what the 32 teams big boards are for each of these guys. But I think the beat writers is a great tool to use. I agree with that.
All right. Who do we have at 10, Meg?
At 10, another edge, Miles Murphy to the Eagles.
Interesting. Where do I have him here? I have him at 18.5 on mine.
He's a weird one, spread. Mock draft started dropping at the beginning of the year. He was as high as 3. He didn't do the combine. He stayed home. I believe he was injured. And his names just fell down the board, which you look at his draft stock and Tyree Wilson's draft stock amazed me. Tyree Wilson didn't work out either. Yet he's just come out of the woodworks and he's became a top 3 pick in a lot of these mock drafts.
Right.
I think the Miles Murphy kicking him down the board's a little too far. I think the kid's a lot better than they're giving him. So I could see him going in that top 10 pick, especially if you watch all these edge rushers get ripped off the board like this, because he's going to be one of the last guys sitting there, one of the better guys too. It's going to be like, we can't let this guy sit there much longer. The next pick could be him. We'll take him at 10.
All right. There's our top 10. Let's talk about some of these other ones. Meg, have you guys ever look at fun stuff like this, like total ACC players drafted in the first round? I assume you could use your brother's big board and kind of.
I was going to say, did you want me to share the FanDuel board to look at the different ones, the bets, or did you want to stay with the?
We'll just do a couple. We'll stay with the simulator, but can you put the big board on the screen? Just the board overall of the top 32.
Oh, this is the top 32 as they got picked.
Okay, we'll use that one then. Yeah. Tyler, out of all these kind of fun ones, total Big 12 players, total quarterbacks, do you have a favorite bet here? Total SEC players, 11.5.
I'm not betting any of those weird ones, spread, just because it's just you got to go through, you got to pencil in where all the guys are at, and then you're playing that game. But looking at draft position, one pick I love. It's on FanDuel. You can get it on every book that's right around the same number. Okay. Joey Porter's draft position. It's 19.5. Now you go look at mock drafts and where he's slotting in at. He's slotting in anywhere from about 14 to 19. That under 19.5 is plus money. I don't think he slides past 17 because the Steelers have this thing they love to do. Yeah, I'm betting the under there, spread. That's a lot. That's an official play from me.
Okay.
I don't see him sliding past 17. And if he gets past 17, I don't see him getting past 18. You got the Detroit Lions waiting at 18. If they don't take a corner at 6, they could go a corner there. The Steelers had his dad for years. The Steelers love playing this angle where it's like, if you played for us, you played for Pitt, or you played for Penn State, we're probably going to draft you. They are not letting Joey Porter Jr. slide past them at 17. And if they do, it's because there was somebody on the board that shouldn't have been there at 17.
I mean, I think Washington could have interest too. I know
Jahan
Dotson went up against him every day in practices and already been pleading to coaches, please take him.
Yeah, I think he's the corner on all the boards where it's everyone wants to pencil in Witherspoon and Gonzalez as their top 2 guys. there could be 4 or 5 teams out there with Joey Porter as 1 or 2 on their board. So I love that bet for him to go under 19.5.
All right, guys, you stuck with us. Got a winner right there. Meg, one of the things I'm looking over here is total quarterback selected in the first round. Over 4.5 is minus 172. Who are the 5 quarterbacks you would expect to be in the first round?
Yeah, the 5, of course, is Bryce Young. Obviously, we're saying number 1. Stroud, Levis,
who's the 5th?
Richardson, and the 5th is Hooker. And there is, if you want to speak to rumor season, there is rumors of Hooker, somebody coming in, or whether somebody has to come back in or in trade back or just at their position. There is rumors of Hooker going late first round.
That's where I wish we had the gift of our president, where he's like Minnesota, because that's who's coming up to get him.
So here's where I think this is fun with price shopping, right? So now over under 4.5 quarterbacks is over is minus 172, right? So that's Hooker being drafted essentially. Hooker at under 31.5 is minus 163. So I mean, I guess you would lose that bet if he lands on 32.
Well, there's only 31 picks. Remember, there's only 31 picks. The Dolphins had their pick takeaway. So,
okay. So this is essentially the same bet. So my point stands. So make sure you're shopping here rather than take that under 4.5. Take the Hooker under 31.5, and you'd save about 12 cents. Doesn't seem like a lot, but you keep doing this year after year, and just taking the time to do these little sort of things, it can save you money in the long run or make you more profitable. Meg, did you want to take any stands on defensive backs in the first round? I see under 5.5 is plus 135. Offensive lineman is over 5.5 is minus 581. So I guess there's no value there unless you think there's going to be no lineman selected. Did you pull up the board, and did you have any fun bets for the people?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I do like some of the over under of the certain positions, right? Because if you're making a stand within these 31 picks, we know it's a great edge class, and there's going to be a lot of them. We think there's going to be 5 quarterbacks. We think there could be 2 running backs. I don't think you're getting much edge there on the running back position. No, over 2 running back, or essentially, over 1.5 running backs.
So you think that under plus 135 on the running backs, under 1.5, don't bet that? I was going to bet it.
I mean, again,
what were you going to bet, spread? I'm sorry, Meg.
Under 1.5 running backs drafted in the first round.
Don't do that. Do not do that.
They're going to take 2 running backs in the first round. I thought we all decided that nobody drafts running backs in the first round anymore.
I mean, there's talks that Bijan's going to go in the top 10, and there's multiple teams calling into the first round
about Gibbs.
Yeah.
He's that good?
Those 2 are going to be the first 2 running backs off the board in the first round. Then you might not get one till the 3rd.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. My brother made a good point. It's more like the what's the word I'm looking for? Supply and demand, right? Like after Gibbs goes, it just is a ginormous drop off. So it's probably partly about wanting to get Gibbs as a running back, but it's also like after that, it's just a big drop off in the next.
I thought we decided we don't draft first round running backs anymore. Didn't Josh Jacobs? He just said anything?
I think that role goes for teams in the rebuild phase. If a Cincinnati comes up and snags a running back, it's like, okay, they're built. Like that's.
I mean, the Bills still could.
They replace them.
That's a great
Matty Ice is right. Eckler's gone after this year. If the Chargers come up and grab one of them, they just kick Zeke out of Dallas. What if Dallas wants one of these guys? Philly kicked Miles Sanders out. They're fully built. Like there's certain teams where it's like, all right, if they took a running back, it doesn't look all that bad in the end because they didn't need anything else.
Right. As I say, there's a lot of these playoff teams there's a lot of these playoff teams.
I think that could be one spread where like you're sitting good until like pick 25, 26, 27. And then a trade comes across the board and you're like, what do they come back up to get? And they walk up there and say Jahmyr Gibbs. And you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. All right. Great conversation. Go ahead. Because
I looked at this prop earlier in the year. I wanted to bet the over on that 1.5. It was plus 250 when I wanted to bet it. What's the over now?
Minus 169.
Yeah, that should tell you where they're going here.
All right, total wide receivers in the first round over 3.5. Tyler, I know you're not a draft expert, but you know these receivers. Do you think over 3.5 receivers in the first round? It's minus 129 to the over, minus 101 to the under.
I mean, I don't hate it because you're going to get JSN out of Ohio State. I think he's the first
for
one
sure. Lock, yeah.
You're going to get Jordan Addison because guys are just overlooking him. He's a stud. I think you're going to get the kid out of TCU, Quentin Johnston, late in the first.
Okay.
The big worry is, does a team come back up to get Zay Flowers in the first round? Like, is he a late first round pick that pushes you up over that 3.5? Because I think this could be one of those ones where you fall dead on 3 and you get hooked. And the other big thing about drafting over so many players in the first round spread, we're down a pick because Miami had to forfeit. So we're already pushing.
Yeah, it's kind of throwing me off.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Meg, your thoughts on over or under for wide receivers?
Yeah, I know you don't get a lot of like value on it. It's not like we're getting plus odds, but I like the over just for all the points that Tyler made. And, again, the offensive minded league. Yes, of course, it goes kind of quarterback offensive line first as far as like those priorities that get steamed up in the draft. But I really think even though this is a weaker wide receiver class, it's not like elite or, it's kind of kind of more average class. With that said, there are still guys in this that I think could help make, especially later in the first round, some of the add to these playoff teams, whether, you've heard Bills wanting to add another weapon. You hear rumors on all these like playoff teams, the Chiefs, that I just think, you, like Tyler said, you may just have like, a couple early or mid first round. And then, at the end of the round, there are a couple goes. And then it also to the point of the big board, the team big boards, the team just may be looking for a speed guy or a big guy or a slot guy. There's even been rumors that Josh Downs might come into the first round. If you want a speed guy like Hyatt, something like that. So I think there could be a team that just like, we see it every year where a team falls in love with some type of receiver, whether it's a big target or a speed guy or an elite slot guy, and they'll either come up or draft it in the late first round if they're a playoff team and thinks like that's an added piece that just loads them. So I just would find it hard to believe it's not at least 4 receivers.
Can you imagine if we could have bet these draft props like 20 years ago, Tyler? I could have just, you would have been like 5 years old, but you just sort by speed and then you just bet that player to go to the Raiders. Like when Al Davis was there. Unbelievable. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we the people was the GM, all 7 rounds, offensive players? No,
I'm betting the overs on his games.
Yeah, over 6.5.
Stack them in DFS, like you're getting all the points in those games.
Yeah. Defense doesn't matter. All right, Meg, give us what you would think would be the best bet for one bet on FanDuel. Tyler gave out his best bet. His best bet was Joey Porter Jr.
I got a few other fun ones I want to give out too.
I was going to say, do you want me to give mine and then you'll give your other fun ones, Tyler?
Yeah, you go ahead and give your best bet and I'll throw out those couple fun bets.
Okay. This one is just because it hasn't happened in a couple years, but this is an elite tight end class. And it's just because you guys know I love like looking for these plus odd, bangers here. So, I lost the tight end one. Where is it? Okay. Total number of tight ends drafted over 2.5 plus 198. You got Michael Mayer, you got Kincaid. They're going in the first round. It's all matter if some team in these 31 picks thinks that one of Musgrave, Washington, there's even talk of Laporta, or I forget his name again. I'm not the analyst here, but again, I see enough of the boards. I know Musgrave got really steamed up during the Senior Bowl and workout process. Obviously, Washington is just a really raw talent out of Georgia. So, I just take like it at that odds. I would just,
I just did right now, Meg. So far.
Oh, and really quick, last time that it did happen recently, doesn't happen a lot. It's only happened a couple of times in the last 10 years, but it did happen in 2017. It was OJ Howard, Njoku, Ingram. So
fantastic. All right. Thank you for that, Meg. I've bet Joey Porter under 19.5, and I just added a little bit of over 2.5 tight ends. Tyler, love it. What else you got for us?
Yeah, a couple fun bets I like. Of course, at under 19.5, you just talked about. FanDuel has a special popular draft combinations. Jackson Smith to be the first wide receiver off the board, Will Anderson to be the first defensive player off the board, and Paris Johnson
Jackson
Jr.
Smith going ahead of the other guy?
Yeah, 100%. He's minus 450.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. You didn't say his
I don't even try and butcher that last part of his name.
Fair enough. Now
I also just call him JSN, but I wasn't sure if you even know the letters. But yeah, him, Will Anderson, and Paris Johnson to be the first guys off the board on all their respective wide receivers, defense, and offensive line. That's plus 350. I like that.
Okay.
They have a special here. Houston Texans to draft JSN, which they sit at 12. If they go defense in the first round, you look at their wide receiver room, it stinks. Why not go get your star wide receiver right now at 12? And then she just talked about tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys let Schultz walk. They're not taking Michael Mayer, and we're getting 28-1 on that combination. I will gladly sprinkle on that 28-1 that Houston takes JSN and the Cowboys take Mayer. And then just one fun one, because our draft simulator pointed it out to us. If Lucas Van Ness can get up into that top 5,
that was fun.
I found it. He is a 95-1 to be a top 5 pick. Seattle does weird stuff. If they love edge rushers, they could definitely lean towards an Iowa guy right here. So don't mind that. If you don't want to get that crazy, him to be a top 10 picks 3-1. I don't mind that either, because there's different spots he could slide in those back 5. So those are some other bets I like their spread.
Yeah, these exacta
winners, I love it.
These exactas are fun on FanDuel, like basically exact picks for 2 teams, basically.
And then we talked about running backs. I think Cincinnati takes one of these 2 guys, and you could do teams to draft Gibbs, teams to draft Robinson. Cincinnati to draft Robinson's 25-1, and Cincinnati to draft Gibbs is 10-1. I'm putting a half unit on both of those. And I don't mind taking the Chargers on both guys either. You're getting 16-1 and 18-1. Well, I think one of those 2 teams takes a running back.
All right, Tyler, we're drafting running backs in the first round. Meg, thank you very much for joining us. One more time, tell everyone what's going on at FanSpeak if they're just joining now, what they can do up until the draft, and how you've been doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. So fanspeak.com, you'll find links, to On the Clock. If you want to upgrade to Ultimate GM, I guess, again, just $19.95 for the entire year. Use the code RPS, $3 off, just $16.95. You get ads-free experience. Be the armchair GM for NFL draft. We have for NBA draft, NHL draft, and then we're going to have a ton of best ball content too. We also are doing On the Clock live during the first and second day. So Thursday night, Friday night, you can then draft on real-time data. So we take out the pick, we take out the team need, and then then you're drafting based on what's actually happening.
You can rerun the simulator after every pick.
Yeah. If it's when I click upload, it might be a little delay, but yes, you can rerun it after every single pick, and you are then basing it on real-time data as opposed to just hypothesizing. So that's fun. But this has been so much fun. I love talking football with you guys. I hope I get to talk a lot of football with you guys in this fall, and I love talking draft with you guys. So thank you so much.
All right, we appreciate you coming on. That's pretty good for words of wisdom, right? I don't think we're going to be able to top that, right, Tyler?
Yeah, there's no way we're topping that. We definitely got to bring Meg back on for football season.
Well, we're bringing her on. She's going to be on the Friday show with us, so you're going to continue those hot takes. But if you don't want to wait till then to get those winners, of course, Meg's been bumping out the USFL content, right? And
XFL, content. USFL, yeah.
So you can catch that. When's your next show for spring football?
I don't know if we're doing it this Saturday, but we've been doing it every Saturday morning. So
okay. So you can get those winners there, of course. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're going to take about a 3 to 5 minute break, Tyler. We'll be back with AP for the NBA rundown. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Tyler, hit the music.